mail. I found it.
You mean it wasn't in your tushy?
It was in my, pants.
Wow, this has been unhinged.
Yay!
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yes, I've had the odd complaint, but on the whole, I've been a saint. To those poor unfortunate souls.
Hello and welcome back to Poor Unfortunate Podcast. I'm Caroline Ameti.
And I'm Connor Perkins. Welcome to all of our returning listeners. It's great having you here with us. Thank you for coming back. And to all of our new listeners, thank you for hitting play. It's great having you here with us. Please also remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast. That way, all of the episodes download right to your device. You don't miss out on anything. And at the end of the episode, if you liked what you heard, make sure that you hit 5 stars and leave a written review wherever you're listening to the podcast. Helps other people find it. We're seeing search results, all that good stuff. Your things that you write could be the difference between someone passing us by or hitting play. So please, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please do that. And if you're a returning listener and you haven't, come on. You know you want to.
Come on.
All right, Caroline, what's new?
Well, first, thank you to everyone who followed along on Instagram as Connor and I cavorted across New York City this past weekend.
We did. The first time in the same physical space in over a year.
Oh my God. That's so sad.
The last time we were physically together was Halloween 2021.
Why?
When we saw Winnie the Pooh.
If you had told me that when I hugged you bye to get on the train at that point that I wouldn't see you for that long, I would have wept. That's so sad. But it was amazing. We had an amazing weekend. We met up with friends. We had a 2-show day. We saw Fat Ham and Bad Cinderella, and both of them 10 out of 10. But you already know that if you were following along. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And thank you for sending in your
fun.
questions to us. And so next time we're together, we'll be sure to do that again. And if that's content that you like to see, please let us know. It's comforting to hear.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do an Ask Me Anything or whatever while we're getting ready for Caroline's wedding and exclude all of the other people in the bridal party and just be like, and then they'll want to kill us because they're so angry
we're trying to make
that
content.
we have this special thing.
We can ask them all which Disney character they are or something like that. So yeah, screw it. Why not?
Yeah.
But on to some Disney news. Let's see. Actually, I'll start with non-parks things. So it was announced that there is going to be a live action Moana with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it.
And Ali Carvalho is producing it, and unclear whether or not she will be also in it.
Yes.
They're ticketing this as a reimagining, but at the same time, I'm like, we just imagined it. We just imagined it for the first time.
To me. Yeah. Feels unnecessary. But you know what? I say that about a lot of things, and then I eat it up as soon as it comes out. So what do I know?
So I mean, I know.
And there was a bunch of casting announced for the Lilo and Stitch live action as well. Again, I don't know, but sure. Sure.
Yeah. Today when we're recording this, it's April 20th. Happy 420. Almost all of the modern Spider-Man films are going to start to be on Disney Plus starting tomorrow. And then by May 12th, we'll have every Spider-Man film except for Far From Home, No Way Home, and Amazing Spider-Man 2. So first time ever having all of those on Disney Plus, which is really exciting. The Mayhem series on Disney Plus premieres the first episode on May 10th.
That's so soon. Oh my gosh.
I know. It's about Electric Mayhem from the Muppets, the band, Dr. Teeth, Janice, all of them. And it's about them recording their first studio album. So it's going to be great.
So good.
It's going to be so good. We also have a new Haunted Mansion poster that dropped today because today is halfway to Halloween. So there's a new poster. It looks
Listen,
really
great.
good.
I love me some Halloween. I especially love me some Disney Halloween, but the halfway to Halloween thing, I'm like, please, the weather hasn't even gotten warm yet. Just give me a second, please.
I know. I'm like, well, also, way to remind me that we have the bad half of getting to Halloween. The part that I don't want to be in where I'm hot. I hate
it's my favorite time of year. Stop it.
No, I like the Christmas side.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Other things. So we've got a lot of Star Wars stuff that was announced at the Star Wars celebration in Europe as that keeps going and all that stuff. So we got the trailer for Ahsoka.
Oh, that looks
which
so
looks so good.
That looks so friggin' good.
That's going to premiere in August of this year. We don't have an exact date, but they also announced 3 new Star Wars movies, feature length, are in the works. One by James Mangold. And this is about like the dawn of the Jedi.
Cool.
Second one is going to be directed by Dave Filoni. And that is to close out Mandalorian, Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. So that'll be like when those TV shows are coming to an end, they'll close it out with a film. And then the third one that I think I'm most excited for is the one by Charmin Obaid-Chinoy. So she is an 2-time Oscar-winning director and an Emmy Award-winning director. She directed Miss Marvel, which that show was amazing. And this is going to be about rebuilding the Jedi Order after the Skywalker saga with Rey and Daisy Ridley returning as Rey.
Thank God.
Which God bless that woman for daring
getting
to
back
return
into
to
that
this.
mess. Yes. Oh my God, please. I love her so much.
I'll take as much Daisy Ridley and I'll take as much Rey as possible.
I will too. Oh my God, I love her so much.
Also, I've got some like Disney gaming stuff to talk about too. So also in the Star Wars world, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is a video game that came out 3 years ago about Cal Kestis. It's one of the best video games I think I've ever played in my life. I'm playing it right now. The sequel to that is coming out on April 28th, Jedi Survivor. So that's been long awaited. You can pre-order it now and get some special bonus stuff. It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. But then also, it's already available now. You can start doing your founders packs, just like Dreamlight Valley, for Disney Speedstorm, which is the Disney racing game.
Oh my God.
Which I'm so excited for because we haven't really had a Disney racing game since like Disney Magical Racers. Did you ever play that on your computer?
I sure did. Absolutely.
Oh my God. I love that shit. It's so good.
Play that.
So Speedstorm is about to be my identity as well. So you can, it'll be free later, similar to Dreamlight Valley, or you can get in ahead, get some extra bonus content and support the people who are making it for different ranges of value. So I'm probably going to be like all in at the highest tier.
Yes, you are. Yeah. I know you are. All right, so hopping over to Disney parks, we got some exciting news out of Disneyland Paris, actually. So starting this summer, there is going to be a Mexican restaurant opening in Disneyland Paris inspired by Coco and Miguel's passion for music. It's going to be called Casa de Coco, which I think is so sweet. I saw the concept art. It looks absolutely charming. And I think very cool that there's going to be some Mexican cuisine in that park as well. That's great. Also, they're doing an extension of Pizzeria Bellanotte that's in that park that will be inspired by Disney Pixar's Luca, which again, I feel like is a very, it's pretty rare to get some Luca stuff in the park. So that'll be in Disneyland Paris as well. So cool dining stuff happening there. Then back to the U.S. parks. Speaking of things in the fall season starting early, the Food and Wine Festival for 2023 in Epcot will begin on July 27th, like halfway through the summer, and will conclude on November 18th. So half the year is food and wine, as usual.
And the other half is Flower and Garden.
Flower Garden and Festival of the Arts.
The other half, the third half is Festival of the Arts.
Oh, love that. Very exciting news. In June, Disneyland is going to be having its first Pride Night. And so they unveiled all of the characters in their special Pride Night outfits. And just like all of these Disneyland After Dark events, I'm sure it's going to promise a lot of really, really cool features. Disneyland really knows how to do it up. So I can't wait to see coverage of that. I'm so excited for everybody who's going to get to go to that. Also, we are going to be getting some updates to Star Tours. So some new scenes are going to be added from some of the newer films. So I forget when it's going to be shutting down for that. I don't think it'll take terribly long, but once Star Tours gets its little refurb, we will have some new and exciting scenes. That's good. I don't ever want to get rid of that ride. I know it doesn't compare to so many other things technology-wise, but we get some new scenes, and I think it's freshened up a little. That's good. Also, over this past month, with like a lot of spring breaks happening, Disney Genie Plus was sitting and staying at $35 per person per day. Is that what it was for you when you were there, Connor?
No, it was $29.
Get out.
Over
So it was even
Christmas.
more than over the
It's more
holidays.
expensive.
Yeah.
And they sold out.
Yes, there were no more Genie Plus daily passes available, which is
No, thank
What?
you.
what would be. I can't even imagine what those
It
parks
was-
looked like if that
It was
the
spring
case.
break. It was spring break,
Woof.
Easter break. Yeah.
Yep, that's the
Nightmare.
time where a family friend of mine, they went to Disney for the first time, and it was spring Easter break, and they were like, I'll never go back to that place.
Yeah.
Walt Disney World annual passes have resumed sales
Yeah.
after a long, long wait. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I there are a lot of people who are happy about that, so I'm happy for them. And
What,
and
I
on the
don't even
money
know
front-
what it does anymore.
yeah, right. That's the thing is I'm kind of unclear what these all mean at this point. And then some other good news, fresh on the tail of the cast member pay increase. The Disney College program is also going to have a pay increase as well for its participants. So that's some good news.
Oh, good.
So all pretty positive news that I've got coming out of the parks.
Yeah. Tokyo Disneyland debuted the new parade Disney Harmony in Color.
Oh yeah.
Which this may be the single most beautiful parade I've ever seen. If you haven't seen pictures of it, go look it up. There is a Tangled float where Rapunzel is swinging on her hair. There is a Up float. There is Coco. There's Zootopia. There is a Pocahontas float that is stunning. Literally, like the leaves are flying around her, and there's a Miko
my God.
animatronic, and then there's
Oh
Pocahontas.
my God.
And it's so colorful, and it's go look at this parade. I want to go to Tokyo for many reasons, and now this parade is another reason. Jesus. So yeah. And then the last thing in terms of Disney Parks news that we're going to mention is the ongoing shenanigans between Disney and Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida. So between this episode and the last time we recorded news, one of the funniest frickin' things happened, which was Ron DeSantis and his new board that he appointed of people who are overseeing Reedy Creek realized that at the 11th hour, Disney outmaneuvered them and basically stripped Reedy Creek of being, able to do anything, but they did it all legally and publicly and openly in a forum. But the people who were on the Reedy Creek board just weren't paying attention. So basically their oversight and Reedy Creek is kind of useless now. And so Ron DeSantis has been furious and has been looking for ways to get back at Disney. And he's been talking about we're going to open up the land around them to sell to other theme parks so that they can build theme parks there, or we'll put a prison next to Disney World, or we'll raise the prices on all of this stuff so that the people who are going are going to feel it and it's going to reflect on Disney, even though everyone would see through it. And as of today, Disney did another 11th hour maneuver where they basically said that they will be able to continue to set their utility rates through 2032, which is long after DeSantis is gone because he has a term limit and is not up for re-election. So
I forgot about that. Oh my God.
Yeah. So he basically they made it so that he can't do anything until 2032 when he's not there anymore, which is brilliant. God. And Disney's also, we're planning a Pride event in Walt Disney World as well, just to remind us where we're from. Republicans are starting to turn on DeSantis. It is just it is the messiest high school drama ever. And he's now basically made his entire political identity this. So I think that's all the news that we've got there.
Yeah.
Now we're leaving on that messy bish of news.
What a messy. He's just a messy bish.
He's a messy bish. So we're going to go into our showdown episode now. So our showdown is when we take two things that are similar to each other, pit them against each other and tell you which one comes out on top. Or in the way that we did our last showdown, we did just a full-on Beluga Savruga bracket, which was great and exhausting.
Oh,
we're going back
painful.
to two things.
Yeah,
Equally painful, though, because we gave ourselves a hard job.
absolutely.
Instead of comparing two movies or two soundtracks or two things, we're going to be comparing two lands of Disney parks that basically function in exactly the same way, but are completely different from each other. So Disneyland California's New Orleans Square is going up against Walt Disney World's Liberty Square.
Oof.
So there's nothing for you to watch. There's nothing for you to really do. So, like, we'll still take a moment if you want to.
Just to prepare
and then come back. So, if you want to take a moment to prepare yourself emotionally, go online and look up some pictures.
Or you could, there's
Go
actually
for
some
it.
very nice walkthrough of both on YouTube. So, if you really aren't familiar,
you can-
watch a walkthrough.
You could watch a walkthrough. Great. So, we'll give you that time to do that now. And welcome back.
All right. So, as we always do, we're going to start with some background information.
Background information.
Yeah, we need a little jingle
We
for
need
that.
a
That was good.
soundboard.
We do. So before I jump into the background information of New Orleans Square, I would just like to acknowledge my sources. Lots of information that I did not know before this. So thank you to the following websites: Duchess of Disneyland, Wikipedia, Mouselets, allears.net, and then on YouTube, Offhand Disney and the Mouse Scout. So now for some history on New Orleans Square. New Orleans Square opened on July 24th, 1966 in Disneyland in Anaheim, California. It was the first new land to be added to Disneyland following the park's opening on July 17th, 1955. So 11 years later was the first addition to the park. Its dedication ceremony was actually Walt Disney's final major appearance in Disneyland before his passing a few months later. The mayor of New Orleans was in attendance at the land's dedication ceremony, and it was a big deal. So New Orleans Square evokes the NOLA of the 1850s with iron balconies, hidden courtyards, and winding streets reminiscent of the French Quarter. New Orleans Square was built on the land that was once Holiday Land, a portion of Disneyland I knew basically nothing about until now. So technically outside of Disneyland's borders, the 9-acre Holiday Land was basically a grassy picnic and fairground type area with playgrounds, a baseball field, horseshoes, volleyball, and a large circus tent. Food and beer were available, which was a very special feature as alcohol was not sold inside Disneyland's gates at the time. So corporations could rent the space for work gatherings, and the area could hold up to 7,000 people. It was large. So guests would purchase a separate ticket for Holiday Land, but that ticket also granted them admission into Disneyland starting around 4 p.m. on that day. Holiday Land closed in September 1961 for a variety of reasons, including a lack of shade and bathrooms to service the number of guests that could fit in the area, a lack of nighttime lighting. It was kind of just a perfect storm of it. Just it couldn't serve guests in the most optimal way.
Like
so
a death
closed.
trap.
Yeah, it was a place to bake in the sun and get dehydrated. So New Orleans Square cost $18 million to add to Disneyland.
Worth it.
Walt used to joke that it cost as much as the Louisiana Purchase, and without adjusting for inflation, it actually cost more than that. Plans for a New Orleans-themed area of Disneyland began in the 1950s, with the land appearing on a souvenir map as early as 1958, before its 1966 opening. So Walt always loved New Orleans. He had a very special emotional connection to New Orleans, and he covered the opening of the new land in a Disneyland Around the Seasons segment, describing the land as being a New Orleans of a century ago, when she was the gay Paris of the American frontier. Walt had always planned to build his second in-park apartment in New Orleans Square, partially again because of his affinity for the real place. He wanted more space than his apartment above the firehouse on Main Street, and he hired Gone with the Wind set designer Dorothea Redmond to design the layout of the space above what was eventually Pirates of the Caribbean. It was named the Royal Suite, but was not quite finished when Walt passed. The rooms became the Disney Gallery from 1987 to 2007, which provided not only an art shopping opportunity for guests, but the ability to explore the space that would have been Walt's. So again, this is going to tie more into just so many touches in this land that are directly built by Walt, connected to Walt, just have that classic Walt Disney feeling to them. So on its opening day, New Orleans Square was much more focused on shopping and dining rather than attractions. On opening day, it was home to exactly 0 attractions, with only shopping and dining. The first major attraction, Pirates of the Caribbean, wouldn't open until March 1967. The land's focus was instead on atmosphere and culture, with artisans creating one-of-a-kind merchandise inside the shops and jazz bands roaming the streets. So on the Disneyland map, New Orleans Square is located between Adventureland and Critter Country on the left side of the park if you're walking down Main Street, USA. So the current attractions in the land are Pirates of the Caribbean, which, as I said, opened in March 1967, the Haunted Mansion, which opened in August 1969, and a stop on the Disneyland Railroad, which opened in 1966. Past attractions in the land include the Pirates Arcade Museum, which was there from 1967 to 1980 and was pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It was a little strange. The Disney Gallery, as I mentioned, it was an experience to get to see a space that Walt created, but it was really just shopping for art. So that was there from 1987 to 2007. And then we had Princess Tiana's Mardi Gras celebration from 2009 to 2010, which is nothing compared to what we'll be getting in 2024, which is Tiana's frickin' Bayou Adventure.
They're redrawing the lines.
They are growing the land for this. It's huge. It's huge. Let's also talk a little bit about the dining. The dining here is it's everything. It's 10 out of 10. There's so many options. So we've got the most famous probably is the Blue Bayou restaurant, which is table service, housed inside Pirates of the Caribbean. You can watch the boats float by as you sit under lanterns and enjoy classic Louisiana-inspired dishes. We've got Cafe Orleans, which is the other table service restaurant in the land, which is also home to one of Disneyland's most famous dishes, which is its Monte Cristo. And it's got a Cajun Creole inspired menu. And it also is home to the original espresso machine that Walt used to go get his coffees from and just sit and drink his coffee and just take in the atmosphere of New Orleans Square. Very magical. As far as quick service goes, we've got the Mint Julep Bar, which is serving a menu of refreshing drinks like the non-alcoholic mint julep and the park's famous Mickey-shaped beignets, and there is often a live band playing right underneath the little, sun covering that's there. We also have the Royal Street Veranda, another quick service spot where you can enjoy super gumbo in a sourdough bread bowl or some beignets under a classic New Orleans wrought iron balcony. And then, last but certainly not least, we've got 2 table service spots that we will probably never experience in our lifetime. But you know what? Never say never. So Club 33 is located above Pirates of the Caribbean and next to Walt's former apartment that I was describing. Its entrance now sits in the Court of Angels area right by the Grand Staircase. So Club 33, if you do not know, is a private club, and this one's a private dining club for members only. And this is the only location in Disneyland, likely named for its original entrance's location at 33 Royal Street. Walt Disney modeled Club 33 after executive VIP lounges he saw at the 1964 World's Fair. It opened in June 1967, 6 months after Walt's death. So unfortunately, that was another project of his that he never just got to see come to fruition. And
now the waiting list is forever, and it's a $20,000 initiation fee.
14-year-long waiting list. Sometimes you pay more than $20,000 for initiation, and you'll pay about $10,000 to $15,000 in yearly dues. So,
okay. So if I know that I'm going to start being famous, I'm just going to have to join the wait list, or maybe I'll just join the wait list right now.
Honestly, join it now. Then you got 14, 15 years to build a career. I think it's a good idea.
Great.
And then we also have 21 Royal, another table service spot, which is an exclusive. So at least anyone can access this. It is a private dining experience that can be booked for up to 12 guests per night, per seating, for a flat fee of $15,000.
Oh, okay.
This space, as I described, was the former home of the Disney Gallery, which was where Walt's apartment was going to be. Then it became the Disney Dream Suite from 2007 to 2016. So that was kind of honoring Walt's wish for a full apartment suite in New Orleans Square, and was made, just like, the Cinderella Castle Suite in Disney World, available to randomly selected park guests as part of Year of a Million Dreams. But yeah, if you wanna book 21 Royal for your group of 12 or fewer, you get however many courses, drinks, private viewing of the nighttime shows, park hopper pass. It's all included. So who knows? Maybe it's a bargain
Oh,
if
that's
you really do
not
the
really
math. Yeah.
I'm like, that's not that bad.
We're like, wait. Maybe we'll do that one day.
I will.
So previous dining in this land included Le Petite Patisserie, which was open from 1988 to 2004, and the French Market Restaurant, which was open from 1966 until 2023, which closed to make way for Tiana's Palace. So in Disney's words, how could I take it from anywhere but the official Disney statement? The new Tiana's Palace will have much of the same pinch of pizzazz and flair as the restaurant from the film, offering authentic New Orleans flavors inspired by Tiana's friends and adventures in this quick service style restaurant. What a dream come true.
I know there are a lot of people who are complaining that it is a quick service restaurant, that they should have converted something else, which I can see, but also I'm okay with it being quick service because that means more people are able to enjoy it.
Please make something that's a princess thing. Make the first iteration of it accessible to families, please. It's hard enough to pay to go to the parks. And then we can get a sit-down one in Disney World. It'll be fine. And then just to wrap things up, just a little note on shopping, because it was such a major part of the reason that this land was created. So that was its focus when it opened, and it has way too many former shops to name. It's gone through so many of them. Like I said, when the land opened, it was home to artisans making one-of-a-kind pieces right in front of you. It was very special. But now it's currently home to 7 shops, including, and it's a very wide range, Port Royal Curios and Curiosities, which has largely haunted mansion-inspired merchandise, Mademoiselle Antoinette's Parfumerie, which was personally designed by Lillian Disney. Come on. Pieces of 8, which is Pirates of the Caribbean merch, Royal Street Sweets, and Eudora's Chic Boutique, featuring Tiana's Gourmet Secrets, which is new. And it's got Cafe du Monde merchandise, housewares, Princess and the Frog art, and Leah Chase, who is the inspiration for Tiana, her cookbook. You can buy that there too. So that's just a little summary of what's going on in New Orleans Square and its background.
Love it.
Over to you.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about Liberty Square. Acknowledging my sources, we've got Wikipedia, Disney Parks blog, DizDining.com, allears.net, and wdwmousing.com. Thank you for your assistance. There was a lot of good stuff that I did know, and I just wanted to back up, and some new things that I learned as well. So great. Liberty Square is the smallest by guest area of the 7 lands of the Magic Kingdom, exclusively located at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, depicting Revolutionary Era America. It opened as part of opening day on October 1st, 1971, and it is located in the northwest region of the park between Fantasyland, the Rivers of America, and Frontierland, with bridges that connect to the Hub and Main Street USA, and then also over towards Adventureland. So it's kind of like an oddly central location that's not central. So kind of fun. It was originally designed in 1956 as an annex of Main Street USA for Disneyland called Liberty Street. So this area would have been a cul-de-sac off of Main Street themed to Revolutionary America, complete with Independence Hall. Now, there were 2 attractions that were conceived for this area, including a show called One Nation Under God that would feature wax figures because audio animatronics had not been made a reality yet. And then there was also the Hall of Declaration of Independence, where guests could see the story of the beginning of the United States depicted through famous paintings. Now, due to other priorities in Disneyland, including the monorail, Matterhorn bobsleds, the eventual creation of Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln for the World's Fair, Liberty Street never came to fruition. And then it was revisited when plans for Walt Disney World began to be designed in the late 1960s. Walt Disney Imagineering wanted to create a land that was different, yet familiar to Disneyland's New Orleans Square. And with the actual New Orleans in such close proximity to Orlando and the bicentennial of the United States just a few years away in 1976, it was a no-brainer to create Liberty Square.
Smart. Yeah.
So the current attractions for Liberty Square are the Haunted Mansion, the Hall of Presidents, and the Liberty Square Riverboat. Past attractions include the Admiral Joe Fowler Riverboat, which closed in 1980. Just another riverboat.
Oh.
Mike Fink Keelboats. This closed in 2001. This is for my dad. So this now defunct attraction was located in Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, and Disneyland Paris, and it featured two 38-foot keelboats, the Gully Wumper and the Birth of May, which were in Disneyland, and they were the actual props used in 2 episodes of the Davy Crockett TV series. One of the former boats from the attraction now sits on the banks of Tom Sawyer Island in Magic Kingdom as a prop, and the docks have become an extended queue for the Haunted Mansion. So you know that sort of like covered area that you go through in the queue for the Haunted Mansion? That was actually the dock entrance to the keelboats.
Oh.
And then another past attraction, The Muppets Present Great Moments in American History, closed in 2019. This was a daily live show that occurred in windows around Liberty Square, mostly in the Heritage House, where the Muppets would take us through abridged accounts of notable moments in early American history, complete with a new frickin' song.
Oh, my God.
I'm just going to go real quick through some of the current dining. I'm not going to really talk too much about what it is because I'll go into that as we kind of dive deeper. But we've got 2 table service. We have Liberty Tree Tavern and the Diamond Horseshoe. We have 2 quick service. We've got Columbia Harbor House and Sleepy Hollow Refreshments. And then we have a snack stand. That's the Liberty Square Market. And then in terms of shopping, we've got the Heritage House, Liberty Square Portrait Gallery, Memento Mori, which is outside of the Haunted Mansion, features a lot of Haunted Mansion merchandise. And then Ye Old Christmas Shop, which is fantastic. It is a fan favorite. And also, it is historically inaccurate. So they created a storyline for that shop to be present there, which I won't dive into that whole story, but you can find it online and everything like that.
Oh, I'm interested and I will.
Yeah. All right, so that's basically what I've got for Liberty Square. It's beautiful. It's America. So, yeah. So the way that we're going to do this episode is we're going to compare them based on 3 things: the attractions, the dining, and the theming. So let's start with attractions. Let's go back and forth between what we've got, positives and negatives for the attractions in New Orleans Square, positive and negatives that we've got for Liberty Square.
All right. This is what makes it difficult. So, okay. A huge pro of New Orleans Square is just the obvious, which is that you are able to hit Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion in the same land. It's kind of hard to top a land with not only 2 of the most iconic rides in any park, but 2 that Walt poured his heart and soul into. And then we're going to get Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Yes.
Like 3 of the literally most iconic. Okay.
I have the same thing in my positives.
Yeah. So to get a little bit more detailed on the beyond the obvious, I'm going to say that I think the New Orleans Square Pirates of the Caribbean is the slightly superior version of
I would agree with you. It has multiple drops.
Yeah,
which
that's
I know
what
you
it is,
hate,
really.
but it has multiple drops. It's longer. It has longer scenes.
Yeah, it's got the 2 drops. We get to float past the Blue Bayou, which is another, again, a fun factor of it. The fact that there's a restaurant in there, it's just amped up a little bit.
Yeah.
So then speaking about the Haunted Mansion, the head-to-head of the 2 Haunted Mansions is what is going to make this the most difficult for me because I am such a huge fan of the Hudson Valley, Sleepy Hollow style facade and just style of the whole Disney World version. I will say, though, the New Orleans Square Haunted Mansion plays perfectly into the occult, creepy side of the real New Orleans. Like when I went to New Orleans, I took a ghost tour, and let me tell you, like I have never been anywhere more haunted in my entire life. It is clearly haunted in New Orleans. And so then just like kind of like the voodoo influence that they bring into the gift shop and the droopy willows around the attraction, it's a very nice fit. Also, in terms of the content inside of the ride, they are nearly identical. Disney World has got some extra scenes. One thing that's a positive for me is that this mansion got the addition of Constance Hatchaway, who was my fave in 2006, the year before the Disney World one did. And for the longest time was the only mansion where the Hatbox Ghost appeared. That's no longer the case.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So like I said, though they are internally basically identical, I do very distinctly remember when I went back onto the Haunted Mansion in New Orleans Square, for the first time in a while, I was like, something about this queue, not outside, but once you get inside, I liked a little bit better. And there's the loading area of this Haunted Mansion is stunning. I have never liked the loading area of the one in Disney World. It just feels cramped and chaotic and just like, get me out of here. But this one has candles galore and these gigantic wrought iron gates that are just like very like scary, but also stunning and gorgeous. So the loading area feels very much like you're kind of like outside and then going into the house. I don't know. It's hard to compare these two things. So I was just trying to find the small things. And then again, whether you actually like the holiday overlay of the Haunted Mansion or not, I personally have never experienced it. I will say that there's something to be said for a new reason to return to such a classic attraction. And I'm always going to be a fan of there being something new to see and experience at different times of year. So, yeah, I mean, hard to beat this land in terms of attractions.
Yeah. The 2 for 2 heavy hitters, soon to be 3 for 3 heavy hitters is like, that's really hard to go up against. Your positives are the same positives that I have. I mean, it's just, I can't say anything. Negatives, there aren't that many negatives of the attractions in this area, except for the fact that I like the design of the Liberty Square Mansion better.
And that's honestly fair.
Even though the Louisiana Mansion is done right for New Orleans Square. Like, I don't know if I would have done it any differently. Like, it's right. I think it is cool that you get to experience the mansion like full size, as opposed to Liberty Square where you sort of have to like walk underneath it. But there's reasons for that. But I will say, I'll put this in as a negative, but the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay, I think is a good thing. My place where I take umbrage with it is when they put it in. They put the overlay in time for Halloween, and they keep it up through Christmas. And for me, I want to experience the Haunted Mansion in its full essence, spooky glory at Halloween. I don't want it to feel Christmassy at Halloween. And that always has struck me a little bit odd. So that is one of the things that is frustrating, that you can't really experience the Haunted Mansion at Halloween in Disneyland, California anymore.
Good point. I actually have a little bit of a con as it pertains to pirates in a way.
I do too.
Okay. So you can definitely make a case for pirates being in New Orleans Square, with New Orleans being a major port. Get out of here. Oh my God.
Yes.
With New Orleans being a major port. And it's the first location of the attraction ever.
Are you reading my fucking notes?
No, I swear I didn't. I only went to look at your length and I was like, oh God. However, the time periods don't quite mesh, though Disney does cover for this by having the second of the two drops take you like back in time from the 1850s bayou where you begin the ride. I don't know. It feels a little bit like, if we're going to nitpick, I'm like, it doesn't quite fit for me. I also actually prefer the queue of the Disney World Adventureland pirates. It's cooler in temperature. You're not roasting in the sun. It's a bit more thematic for me. The one in New Orleans Square, you spend most of the queue outside, and then you're pretty much right in the loading area once you get inside. And I don't know, for me, the Caribbean setting of pirates just fits more naturally in Adventureland for me. So
yeah, that's my negative as well. And I mean, they can sort of circumvent it with the physical location of Pirates of the Caribbean, which is right on the border between Adventureland and New Orleans Square. Yeah. So like they got that right. But I agree, the exterior of Walt Disney World's Pirates is better. And the queue is better, but the attraction itself is better. And also Adventureland is not on trial here. Liberty Square is.
Exactly.
And Liberty Square does not have any Pirates of the Caribbean.
Does not have anything like that.
So that's kind of a sad moment.
Good
but
point.
No, that's exactly what I had. Hopping over to the attractions in Liberty Square. So positives for me. The Haunted Mansion is perfect and gorgeous and looks like Linda Evangelista and is a model and right up overlooking the river. It is the definitive design for Gracie Manor for me. The Haunted Mansion also has an incredible interactive queue through the cemetery on the grounds and is longer than the attraction in New Orleans Square since it occupies more space in the Magic Kingdom. So like when they were going to build the Haunted Mansion, they found that they couldn't actually really dig down in it to do the elevator because everything would just like sink. So that's where they created the illusion of building up for the stretching room to actually stretch as opposed to be an elevator that takes you down. And so when they did that, they found that they actually had a lot more space that they could work with. And thus we get more scenes, we get a longer ride.
That's brilliant.
So yeah, I mean, I will take a longer Haunted Mansion any day of the week. Absolutely any day. Also, I will say all three attractions are very different from one another. So there is a variety while also being accessible to most guests. When you go into Liberty Square, pretty much everybody's going to be able to get on everything. Doesn't matter how big, how small. And then I also have as a positive, the Hall of Presidents is hella air conditioned and is a place to sit. So, I mean, that is a weak positive, but
you know what? I'll take it.
It's a positive.
I'm so with you. And I just want to, like, I totally agree. And I just want to take a moment to be like, you know what? Kudos to whichever Imagineer or Imagineers was like, okay, we're going to do Haunted Mansion, like Hudson Valley, Sleepy Hollow style. Like, what a fantastic choice. So good for whoever did that.
But listen, we've got some negatives on the attractions in Liberty Square.
We do.
So while the Hall of Presidents and Liberty Square Riverboat are two very worthy attractions, for many, including myself, they fall to the bottom of the list of priority attractions and can be quite skippable. Also, Epcot has the American Adventure, which is a multimedia animatronic show I much prefer to the Hall of Presidents. The story is more comprehensive and engaging to me. Also, Golden Dream. Also, the Hall of Presidents is, and it's unfortunate that this is how it is, but as our society in the United States has evolved to a very, very polarized political climate, the Hall of Presidents in particular is always going to be now a reflection of that and be quite polarizing to the point where if you have a president who is making an address or saying the oath of office animatronic in there that you don't like, now it can be a place where people might boo or hiss or something like that. And then that is now in the happiest place on earth or most magical place on earth. And it's like kind of, it's frustrating because this was a vision that Walt wanted. Essentially, one nation under God is the Hall of Presidents, what he intended after he did Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln. But I'm sure he had no idea where we would be in 2023. So that's that. And then my other thing, the riverboat is dated. It features non-moving figures along the route, and there are also long stretches where there like isn't anything to look at. So it kind of feels like you're wasting your time on the riverboat. I think if they really did the Rivers of America, kind of similar to what they did in California, like give us different landscapes and like flowing rivers to look at that are inspired by different locations, could give you a reason. I mean, I'll watch a water fixture for ages. So give me a reason to go on the riverboat, Disney. And also, Liberty Square has not received any substantial new attractions since the park opened. However, due to its location and size, there really isn't much room for them to add anything. The removal of the Muppets live show was really a bummer because it was relatively low maintenance and it was a way of adding more to the area in a different and like creative way. Personally, I would love them to expand and make Tom Sawyer Island part of Liberty Square, like annex that, and then put in a National Treasure ride a la Disneyland's Indiana Jones ride to capitalize on that space and tie in an IP that is unique to this land. Like you would go to Liberty Square and you'd be like, we can't really justify this attraction to be in any other park in the world. This could be a uniquely Liberty Square Walt Disney World attraction. If we want to talk Disney, you know how to reach me. I'll exchange ideas for a fee.
I'm with you on a lot of these. It is specifically related to the riverboat. The past 5 times me and my family have tried to go on the riverboat, it's just also not operating. When there's
it's
3
broken.
attractions, you have to have it operating. Literally the last
also,
time we were at
bless you
Disney,
for going on the riverboat.
Yeah,
no one goes on the riverboat.
I kid you not. On my last trip, we went back to Magic Kingdom to get my dad on the riverboat, and it wasn't operating. It was heartbreaking.
What?
So you got to have it working. Yeah, it was so sad.
Oh.
Then again, touching on great moments in history with the Muppets. Why the hell did we lose that? First of all, it was so good. I was watching it in the blazing sun and I still loved it. It was such a natural fit in the land. As you said, it was a great way to utilize show space that was already available. And just, I don't know, without that, this land can feel a little bit stagnant. And that's not really its fault. There's just no room to add anything else. So I get that. But in that case, I think that live performers could be way more utilized in this land. Give me the Voices of Liberty here. I want people dressed like historical figures. I want music. There are so many options. And if we
you
want
would
to
love
leave,
Colonial Williamsburg.
That's what I gotta get
Jesus.
to. I gotta get there. If we want to leave more of the historical leaning stuff to Epcot, that's fine then. Just give us a freaking Hamilton show. I don't know how or where, but they need to utilize that partnership. Maybe it's not possible, but this area is just begging for it. And I wouldn't go as far to say that we should close the Hall of Presidents and make it a theater for a Hamilton concert style thing. But if they did, I would eventually get over the loss of the Hall of Presidents. I don't hate it by any means, but like you said, Connor, the American Adventure completely blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
It's a great place to rest. It is not an exciting attraction, and I'm into history. I'm down with it. I'm ready to learn.
The American Adventure is a must-do for me when I'm in
Yes,
Epcot.
me
The Hall
too.
of Presidents
I love
is
the
not a
American
must-do
Adventure.
for me in Magic Kingdom.
Absolutely not. So I don't know. Who knows what their deal is with the licensing. I'm sure some kind of agreement can be reached now that Lin-Manuel Miranda is so close with Disney. So let's do it. Let's do it. Give me more, make it more alive. Since we can't build it out anymore, make it come to life for me a little bit more. That's what I need from this.
Listen, we can also use the Hall of Presidents area as an entry to an underground tunnel, to the queue, to the National Treasure ride. I mean, how fitting. We start in an Independence Hall looking thing. Yeah, we can have both.
What if you get loaded into your vehicle, you watch a Hamilton show, and then you kick off for the National Treasure ride?
Or we go under and you just underwater through a tunnel. This could happen. I got ideas. Let's talk.
Those are 2 solid ideas. If Liberty Square got both of those things, it would be lit.
It would be poppin'. All right. I think that's all we've got for attractions there. Let's move on to our dining.
Yes. So really, Connor, I'm sorry that you've never tried any of these foods in New Orleans Square because some of it is delish. I haven't tried enough of it.
Yeah, that's the other thing is I'm trying to be as very objective as I possibly can because I haven't experienced New Orleans Square.
Yes. And I have, but in a more limited fashion. Obviously, I grew up on Liberty Square, so I know it way more intimately. But let's start with the pros of the dining in New Orleans Square. And one of the major ones is the Mint Julep Bar. This spot is honestly everything. This is where you get the iconic Mickey-shaped beignets, which always, the juleps and the beignets always rotate seasonal flavors. And you can just get a mint julep and sit and listen to the jazz band. Yes, that's exactly what should be happening there. The Mickey beignets are an absolutely iconic Disneyland food. And this land also houses one of the other major ones, which, as I mentioned before, is the Monte Cristo from Cafe Orleans. This is maybe an edge that New Orleans Square might have over Liberty Square in that there are quick service food that are accessible that folks might come to this land specifically for because they are iconic Disney World dishes. Then we've got Blue Bayou. I have never eaten here. Every time we go, I beg my family. It's always booked. I always look at it wistfully as I float by on Pirates. This is the San Angel Inn on steroids.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I have that written.
It's an absolute bucket list item for me. For me, it's basically impossible to beat a restaurant inside the show building of an attraction. The perpetual evening sky, the water smell, the lanterns. It looks absolutely magical.
Something that is outside, inside,
has
theme park
and
water smell.
Oh,
and
please.
you can eat. That's ding, ding, ding. That's
exactly. Exactly. And if you measure it against the rest of Disneyland, this is the only place where you can have this kind of dining experience inside of a show building. And New Orleans Square is the place that houses it. So major points. And then that kind of just takes me to, I think, a major hit here in a great way is that the dining options in New Orleans Square kind of touch on every price point and style that you could ask for. We start with literally affordable walk-up window drinks and snacks at the Mint Julep Bar, move to, again, still affordable quick service meals at the Royal Street Veranda and soon to be Tiana's Palace. Then you've got your average price table service at Cafe Orleans, the more high-end table service at Blue Bayou, and then the beyond exclusive 21 Royal and Club 33. Honestly, when you really think about that, that's extremely impressive for a relatively small and windy land. It houses a lot of options. And like this land being the future home of Tiana's Palace, I don't really know how you beat that. Like fans have been waiting for a dining experience from Tiana for forever. And after the plans were scrapped for the Disney World Hotel Reflections, a lakeside lodge, which was supposed to house a Princess and the Frog restaurant, this is just huge news. And honestly, besides New Orleans itself, it's kind of hard to find Creole, Cajun, Louisiana cuisine elsewhere, whereas we can find some of the, albeit very delicious, Liberty Square cuisine in other places in Disney and the world at large. It's harder to find this, and so it's like, for me, the two places that I get beignets in this world are New Orleans and literally Disneyland. So again, huge plus to be able to eat one of the most delicious cuisines, in my opinion, in the world. So the dining, I think, really knocks it out of the park.
Yeah. Blue Bayou, outside, inside. That's...
Please. Lanterns, trees,
and then,
sky.
And I also feel like the Cafe Orleans dining package feels like the thing to do, especially if you time it right with Fantasmic.
Oh, my God.
Like,
yes.
it's a way
absolutely.
of basically getting a Fantasmic dining package without having to get a Fantasmic dining package.
Absolutely. Great point.
So, yeah, that feels very right. Negatives?
Yeah, honestly, I really don't have any. And just that it's like, I guess I can list Club 33 and 21 Royal as cons because they're just not very accessible at all. So I'll tick off a little something for that. But honestly, I just don't really have anything bad to say about the food here. It like I said, it hits the range. And it's NOLA cuisine, which for me is very hard to beat. So that's kind of all I have.
Yeah, my comment was mostly about the table service dining in the area is very exclusive or pricey. Club 33 and 21 Royal are VIP lounges. And Blue Bayou is probably one of the most expensive table service meals for the average park goer to get reservations for.
Absolutely.
So like you can get a steak there and you're paying $58 for the steak.
Yes.
And like that's a lot. Like no entree there is under like $38.
Yes, very true. I'm glad that there's Cafe Orleans at least, which is like your middle level, typical Disney World table service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also like if you're in New Orleans Square, like you want to go to Blue Bayou. Everybody wants to go to Blue Bayou.
Oh my God, absolutely.
And then the other thing is this is a hard way of finding a negative, but it's almost because the food is so good in this area that I could see it being a downside in that it's probably a huge draw for many guests, which will lead to long lines and overcrowding in a relatively small, windy area. So it's like because the food is so good, now we have to deal with all these people. It just tips into a negative
because it's too good.
Yeah. So I just had to find something.
Sure, of course. We're doing our best.
All right, let's do some dining going on over in Liberty Square. So listen, Liberty Tree Tavern. It is a New England colonial tavern beside the Liberty Tree and Liberty Bell. It features a buffet of Thanksgiving fare. There are 6 rooms, each themed to commemorate pivotal figures in U.S. history, including George Washington, John Paul Jones, Benjamin Franklin, Betsy Ross, Thomas Jefferson, and Paul Revere. I've had Liberty Tree Tavern before. I went to it before it was buffet style, and that was also when it was still character dining. It's not character dining anymore. And you used to be able to meet Mickey and friends dressed in colonial garments, and it was wonderful. It was really, really wonderful. And it's also like a great location because at dinner time, you come right outside. You can get right to the hub for fireworks. You're also, if you want to stick around in Liberty Square and watch fireworks from there, It's beautiful. And then also, like, you've got easy access to get to a lot of the big rides right around dinner time. So you could get right to Haunted Mansion. You could go over to Splash Mountain. You can go over to Big Thunder Mountain. It's a nice central kind of location in terms of where the restaurant actually is.
I just love Liberty Tree Tavern too. I'm actually a big fan of these family style restaurants in the parks. I feel like it's kind of the best bang for your buck for sure. And I also feel like, especially in this one, family style service fits perfectly thematically in Liberty Square. And the food it's so good. Honestly, every time I go, it's freaking delicious. And we've always had cast members who are so attentive and make sure that they bring you extras of whatever your favorite thing was. Mine is the stuffing. The stuffing is unreal. Everything is so good. And I love the vibes. I love the rooms. There honestly is no bad place to sit in there. My family and I just keep returning here, and it's often one of the best meals of our trip when we go. It's really good.
Yeah, don't sleep on Liberty Tree Tavern.
Don't.
Next dining experience, we've got the Columbia Harbor House. Truly one of my favorite quick service locations in all of Walt Disney World. It's a spacious, nautical-themed counter service location. It specializes in seafood. It's hella air-conditioned, has area music that slaps, and the food is so tasty. You can get fried fish, chicken tenders, fried shrimp, French fries, and hush puppies all in a basket with Ken's honey mustard. So, like, that's hard to beat. The design is beautiful. It has lots of nooks and crannies to give you the feeling of privacy and intimacy, despite it actually being a very large multi-level restaurant. It offers beautiful views of Liberty Square, the rivers of America, the parade route. Aaron and I watched the parade from one of the upper windows of Columbia Harbor House. It also gives you views into the Tangled-themed area of Fantasyland. Design-wise, when you enter from Fantasyland, the exterior is in the Tudor style, but from the Liberty Square side, it's all 18th century colonial. It's just like this. I cannot say enough wonderful things about the Columbia Harbor House. It always has my heart. I always have to eat there when I go. I can't explain why. Fight me. I mean, I have explained why. It's perfect.
Yeah. I feel like if you were a Disney restaurant, it would probably be Columbia Harbor House.
And I would not be mad about that.
Yeah. Honestly, I will say, in that ill-fated trip for me and my family, when we went back to Magic Kingdom to go on the riverboat and it was closed, we just beelined straight for the Columbia Harbor House because, like you said, you're always going to find a nook there. Like, when you, need a minute.
Take refuge.
Like, it was hot. We were disappointed, and we just went into the Columbia Harbor House. And this is the sad thing. They have taken the tuna sandwich off the menu. And that was, again, we go probably every trip, but, me and my family used to love, when we would go with my cousins, we would love to hit up the Columbia Harbor House to have a nice tuna sandwich because it's you get tired of having corn dogs and fries and all these things. It was having that variety and that seafood focus is so great. And I just I'm the same as you. I love it in there.
Columbia Harbor House. It's there for you.
It is.
That's their slogan. Sleepy Hollow Refreshments, one of the only representations of Sleepy Hollow in all Disney parks. It consistently has top-tier snacks and beverages and is the only location in the Magic Kingdom where you can enjoy funnel cakes. Also, it is one of the few locations in Walt Disney World where you can get a turkey leg. So in terms of iconic food that feels very, very special to Disney, turkey leg, you get that at Sleepy Hollow Refreshments in Liberty Square. And
it'll always have some kind of special sipper merch kind of thing.
Yeah.
Especially around Halloween. So the Madame Leota sippers were at Sleepy Hollow.
They were.
Yep.
And it's also beautiful to look at. It's got the Headless Horseman on it. It's great locations right by the moat of Cinderella Castle. So you can sit there and just get really nice views of the castle. And then the Diamond Horseshoe, it's a pretty smart idea to phase out of Liberty Square and into Frontierland. So the Diamond Horseshoe, it's an Old West music hall. It used to be complete with a floor show and now boasts an all-you-can-eat traditional American food buffet. So, Diamond Horseshoe is there.
I have that on my cons list.
I know. So let's get over to our cons here. So listen, Liberty Tree Tavern used to be a character dinner with Mickey and friends dressed in colonial garments, and that has been gone for a while now, and it doesn't seem like it's coming back, but it is definitely missed. It was really nice to have an additional place where you could meet the Fab Five.
Mhm.
Because for some people, you know, you have kids, you don't want to stand in line for just to see frickin' Mickey Mouse for 2.5 hours. So it's nice you can get dinner and you can see Mickey Mouse. That's great. So I miss that. And then the Diamond Horseshoe. Okay, so the Diamond Horseshoe dinner show is no longer a part of the restaurant. And it's a shame because it is literally a music hall / saloon with a built-in stage and would be a real asset to this restaurant. So now if you want your dinner and a show fix, you have to make it out to Fort Wilderness for the Hoop-de-Doo review, which I'm like, why don't they just also have like a second Hoop-de-Doo review that takes place in the Diamond Horseshoe?
They would make a killing.
I don't understand because the space is there. It's beautiful. But right now they just have like a piano that just sits on the stage and like that's it. And now it just doesn't really feel like you're getting your bang for your buck in terms of table service. And also Liberty Tree Tavern and Diamond Horseshoe are both working very similar all-you-can-eat menus. So there's not much variety between the two.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point. Honestly, the Diamond Horseshoe is quickly becoming one of my most hated places in Disney because I'm just like, what is going on here?
They don't
It's just
know
like somebody
anymore.
needs to make a decision about it. Decide if there's going to be performers, which, as you said, there really isn't a reason for there not to be. There's a stage, okay? It doesn't belong in Liberty Square the way it is. So that makes no sense to me.
You mean like how Frontierlandy it is?
Yes.
I'll
like we need to
explain.
transition it. Okay,
There's
fine.
a reason.
Okay.
There's a reason.
It has always felt off to me. I don't know. Like you said, same menu now as Liberty Tree Tavern. I've been there when it was like for a while operating as just like a counter service with just like generic theme park food. It's just like nobody knows what to do with it. And it's so beyond lazy. And even though Magic Kingdom could always use more table service restaurants, this specific area could also like use another air conditioned quick service spot. I'm a little bit torn, but like I said, Magic Kingdom really could use all of the table service it can get, being the most iconic and crowded park at all times. So don't have this kind of half-assed thing. Like, make a decision about it. It's a really key thing that we need.
Yeah.
And again, I love Columbia Harbor House. As I said a moment ago, with this being the only air-conditioned quick service restaurant in the land, if that place, every once in a while, I will say, because Disney has changed since we were younger, there have been times where it's like pretty much filled and you got to wait a second to find a table. I
haven't had that experience.
Yeah, it was.
Even when I was there at Christmas time, we had like that whole little area all to ourselves. It's nice.
It happened. It's in the summer, I guess. Again, it's in the summer because everybody's hot and everybody needs air
they're hot
conditioning.
and they want to.
Yeah. So then if you want to eat, besides the Hall of like you can't go into the Hall of Presidents if you want to eat. You're kind of stuck and if you're kind of like in like hungry, hot meltdown mode, you're going to have to like walk pretty far to get to something to get some relief, which can be an issue sometimes. But I really wish there was room in this land for Regal Eagle like we have in Epcot. Fine, we don't have to duplicate it, but I kind of want a little bit more variety of food. Let's lean into the barbecue thing.
Well, that's what they should be doing at the Diamond Horseshoe. It should be barbecue food.
Barbecue, yes. Why don't we turn that into wait, I solved it. Because I said I missed the Muppets.
Oh, yeah.
Put the Muppets in there with barbecue and make it another Regal Eagle, but with a show.
I'll do it. Regal Eagle and a show? Absolutely.
Honestly, Connor, we just solved it. We solved it. So great. I want the Muppets back because the Muppets just feel so Liberty Square to me. I truly could not tell you why. I mean, part of it, Sam Eagle. Yeah, we need barbecue and we need the Muppets back and we need someone to make a decision about the Diamond Horseshoe and we can combine all of those things and make it Regal Eagle Part 2 or something like it. Thank you.
Yeah, take that, Blue Bayou.
Take that.
We will see you that and raise you the Muppets. All right, now let's move into theming, which is my favorite part. And honestly, I feel like theming should probably, weight-wise, carry twice as much as the other ones combined. So
you're just saying that because you're biased.
Let's do New Orleans.
Okay. So a huge pro of the theming of New Orleans Square is that this land takes major advantage of the opportunity that New Orleans culture provides for live entertainers. Live music is playing here constantly, whether it's at the Mint Julep Bar, whether it's with a freely roaming band, there's always live performing happening, which these days is so rare in the parks. And every time I've been there, I've seen something. So I think that's a great sign. The character meet and greet opportunities here are also incredible. This is the first and only place that I have met Pirates of the Caribbean's Red. She was amazing. She was just walking around by the water. And she was incredible. And I like geeked out so hard and lost my mind meeting her. And it was amazing. You can also meet Jack Sparrow and Tiana in New Orleans Square. So like what a trio. Great character opportunities. And then more than a lot of other lands within Disney, the hidden and multi-story features of the land offer so many opportunities for tiny little theming gems that Disney takes full advantage of. The balconies, for example, indicate who might be living in the apartment within. So, for example, you'll see a balcony of a fortune teller, a painter, and a group of musicians. One corner, again, this is like, it's a little bit like, this is how I feel about the Morocco Pavilion. It's just like there's something new around every little bend in the street. One corner is home to a Zoltar-style fortune teller machine called Fortune Red, and he's a pirate. So you can either use your quarters to get a little fortune from him, or there was also a Disney mobile thing that you could do to activate him, just like little cool magical things like that. It just, this land, more than really any other, I want to say, feels like a little treasure trove. It's full of bric-a-brac and knickknacks, and that's exactly what Walt wanted, because a little thing, like one of the reasons that Walt had such a deep connection to New Orleans itself was he found this little mechanical bird in the real New Orleans that inspired the Tiki Room.
Mm-hmm.
So you just feel it in this land. It's just like every little window has things. Like you can see like a little voodoo doll of Jack Sparrow if you peek into one window. There are endless things to see here. I also love that each shop's theming works within the NOLA theme, but has a completely different look and vibe. The parfumery is filled with flowers and glass and chandeliers, and it's very, very elegant. While Curios and Curiosities has nods to Voodoo being the home of Haunted Mansion merchandise. There's a cart where you can buy a hand-painted parasol. You could get a mint julep from the little green shuttered walk-up window. This land is able to find so much variety within its one theme. Whereas Liberty Square, we were talking about with the food a little bit as well, and the theming I think can be a little bit just like consistent. This is what it is. I think they've really mined, having been to New Orleans, there's so many different vibes within that one city, and I think they've really captured them all in this land. It's very, very, there's always something new to see.
I might slightly disagree about your little shade towards Liberty Square there, but I'm about to slow your
We're
mind
not
when
showing
we get
down
there.
against each other, you suck.
Well, I'm prepared to. I have
Freaking
spent
nutshell.
hours with Liberty Square, and it is my baby now.
My God.
All right. I wrote, it looks straight out of NOLA, the winding alleys, the ornate ironwork. It's New Orleans decadence.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly,
that's my positive.
Here's what I'll say is going into my negatives, that's my one thing. And that, again, it's not a negative. It's like a positive house within a negative, I suppose. New Orleans is one of the most magical cities I've been to. Outside of the parks, it's like if you want magic in the real world, I would recommend New Orleans. And honestly, if you visit, it will look a hell of a lot like New Orleans Square because the real place has maintained so much of its original historical buildings and honestly general look of an 1850s city. So while this is a huge compliment to the design and theming of the square, I don't actually need to go to Disneyland to experience that atmosphere. I can go to the real place. Although, as Walt joked at its opening, this version is much cleaner. This is true. So that isn't quite as exciting to me as being shot back to the colonial period, which I find absolutely thrilling. So it's so funny. Like they did such a good job. It's so realistic that I'm like, should I just go to the real place? But then again, I don't necessarily feel that way about the World Showcase. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So negatives I haven't been there. It could just be the pictures that I'm looking at, but it feels like the paths in and around the area can be quite cramped because of how narrow they are to create the New Orleans alleys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Don't know if that is an actual experience of it there, just what I view online.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also I think we might slightly disagree here, but New Orleans is a very specific place, which can sort of take you out of the expanse of some of the other lands. Frontierland, Adventureland, Fantasyland, even Liberty Square gives you a nudge into the direction that you're going, but are still general enough that you can justify many different things in there. New Orleans is so specific that in many ways it feels like a pavilion in Epcot and
It
less
does,
of a land of the
absolutely.
Magic Kingdom that could be home to so many different properties. It's part of the reason why Critter Country even exists, because Splash Mountain and Winnie the Pooh didn't really fit in that area.
Uh-huh.
And now that they're taking Tiana's Bayou Adventure, Critter Country is just Winnie the Pooh and the restaurant next to it.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, that feels like, okay, was there maybe one step zoom out that we could have done that could have encapsulated that? I don't know.
It's interesting. That's a great point. And it like, of course, it's still so
It's
specific.
a positive and a negative where it's
Yeah,
like,
it
it's
is.
so specific, but it's also like, it's so specific.
Yeah, I think they lucked out with Princess and the Frog IP.
They
because
did.
Then it's just like you're expanding it in any way that you possibly can with it being so specific. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Let's hop over into some of our theming for Liberty
Let's
Square.
go.
All right. So there's so much. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to dive into a lot of my like fun facts about the design that I have saved for this moment.
Great.
The design of the area is all historically accurate and tracks architectural history and geographical locations in clockwise order around the rivers of America, starting with the Haunted Mansion, which depicts 1770s to 1780s Hudson Valley, and ends through Frontierland with Big Thunder Mountain, which features architecture from Southern California in the 1880s. So as you move past the actual buildings of Liberty Square into Frontierland, there are actually house numbers that are the years of the 18th and 19th centuries that particular architectural style was popular in the United States in a particular region. So you can really go on like this architectural journey as you just walk through Liberty Square into Frontierland. So that is why the Diamond Horseshoe technically occupies space in Liberty Square, because that is the transition into Frontierland because of its geographical location and the time frame that they're depicting. Also, all of the music that is in the Liberty Square area is music performed on historically accurate instruments. So instruments that would have been around at that time. So that's always fun to note. The Hall of Presidents is housed in a building that is largely a nod to Independence Hall in Philadelphia, but it also calls out other famous buildings in American history. If you want to see Independence Hall, go to the American Adventure. That is a recreation of Independence Hall. But if you look at Hall of Presidents, it feels Independence Hall-y, but also there are some other things. So the side that faces the Haunted Mansion is actually a recreation of the rounded walls and circle windows of Williamsburg, Virginia's Capitol building, home of the House of Burgesses, where the resolution for American independence was passed before going to the Second Continental Congress. So literally the Hall of Presidents represents the place where the original resolution for independence was first passed to the place that it was signed, which is like really, really beautiful. And a lot of people wouldn't know. It also, above that area, there's a window that has two lanterns that are representative of the two lanterns that were hung in Boston's Old North Church to signal that the British were arriving by sea. The Hall of Presidents also just features many genuine artifacts, including an authentic Great Seal of the United States that is inlaid in the carpet of the entryway, which can only be found elsewhere in the Oval fucking Office.
My God.
So there are some like really, really, like they'll have like gowns that belong to first ladies and things like that on display in the Hall of Presidents. All 13 original colonies / states are represented in the architecture, and their flags are flown through Liberty Square Plaza. The area also features a recreation of the Liberty Tree, which was a meeting place for the Sons of Liberty in the Boston Common, and is seen in Disney's film Johnny Tremaine. And a replica of the Liberty Bell is also present in Liberty Square, and it is cast from the original mold of the one in Philadelphia. The Liberty Tree in Liberty Square is a live oak tree, not an elm like the one in Boston was, but it was found on the property of Walt Disney World and transported to its location. And then a younger tree was grafted to its base. It's over 100 years old.
Wow.
At night, the Liberty Tree illuminates with celebratory lanterns, as it did in Boston in March of 1766 when the Stamp Act was repealed.
I love The way that looks, it is stunning.
But 13 lanterns are hung from the tree as a nod to the 13 original colonies. And the bridge from the hub into Liberty Square is meant to represent the bridge at Concord, Massachusetts, which is where, along with Lexington Green, the Revolutionary War began. So as you're walking from the hub into Liberty Square, you're going through the beginning of the Revolutionary War. Many of the shutters in Liberty Square are crooked, which is a Revolutionary era detail that comes from how colonists would remove the hinges and melt them down for musket balls and ammunition. They'd replace those hinges with leather straps, and in the heat and over time, the leather would stretch, causing the shutters to hang askew. So that level of detail is there. Literally, you'll pass by some windows that have like a little doll in there. That was a colonial tradition where any room that had a child in it, you would put a doll there so that if the house were to catch on fire, the firemen could identify where the children were to get them out.
Creepy.
Yeah. But perhaps my favorite fun fact about the design is that there are no restrooms in Liberty Square because there was no indoor plumbing in the 18th century. The restrooms in Columbia Harbor House and Liberty Tree Tavern are technically beyond the borders into Fantasyland and Adventureland, respectively.
Oh my God.
And then the brown curved gravel texture pavement that runs through the smooth red pavement is there to represent the public sewage that would be thrown into the street since no sewer system existed in America at that time. A lot of people know that part, but a lot of people don't know the fact that there are truly no restrooms in Liberty Square.
That's so funny. Truly a privilege to pee.
Listen, I could keep going about the design. I won't. What I love most is that the design really takes us on a journey through time and through America. Instead of just immersing us in one place, we're borrowing bits and pieces of everything and blending it together into this seamless best of land. It's a lot of like, if you know, you know. And if you don't, it just looks beautiful.
Yeah, true.
So there are actually so many incredible details and hidden things to find. There are still things that I'm finding here after all of this time. So yeah, that's what I've got for positives. And under negatives, I have none. It's perfect. So go ahead. Say whatever you're going to say.
Well, honestly, I knew you were going to take it away with the pros of the
So
theming,
you just listed the negatives?
Well, a little. But they're not
Bitch.
really negatives. I agree with all of your... It's just such a lovely... Like you said, even if you know none of those things, it's such a lovely atmosphere to be in. Like, I always find myself drawn there because it's just pleasant to be there. So many parts of Magic Kingdom are so frickin' chaotic. And don't get me wrong, I've been in a crowded Liberty Square, but there's something about it that's a little bit more peaceful that I just so appreciate.
Yeah, and it feels intimate, but also still open. Like, I'm never worried about feeling like claustrophobic as I'm walking down a pathway because it's still so open. And then, I also didn't mention, it's where you can meet Tiana, you can meet Naveen, you can meet Dr. Facilier, you can meet Lewis. There's a little beautiful gazebo.
Oh, I want to do that.
Oh my gosh. It was like when Princess Tiana was first a character that you could meet, and they have lights in there, and she's under there, and she's all lit up, and like you could be walking across the bridge and you can see into the gazebo, and she can see you, and you can wave and say, hello, Princess Tiana, and she can go, why, hello there. And it's fantastic. So
cute.
We love a gazebo moment.
We do. And again, like this is the kind of thing where it's like the cons aren't like, oh, this is so bad. It's just things that I've thought about the land.
Mm-hmm.
So on the topic of Sleepy Hollow refreshments, as great as it is, and like it always carries the sippers that I want and all of those things, I wish that we played even more into the Sleepy Hollow vibes in this land. It would lend this area that little bit of variety outside of the pure Americana that we get everywhere except for the Haunted Mansion. And I would like a little bit more variety within the theme, which again, you explain, we go through the time periods, but nobody really picks up on that. It just reads Americana Colonial, which I love, but I want a little bit more variety. And I think that Sleepy Hollow Hudson Valley feel would give it to us.
What do you mean variety? We get New York, we get Philadelphia, we get Boston, we get Virginia.
We don't know that. I don't know. Again,
do.
Like the more, not location.
Which, if you were in Virginia, would you even know it?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking location.
I'm
talking vibe. I'm talking like we've got the.
What does that mean?
Listen, I'll tell you. We've got the Americana, yay America vibes of the colonial period, and then we also have the creepy Sleepy Hollow.
You just want creepy creeps. That's all you want.
No. I also just, again, because I love it so much, I wish there was even more space to just vibe. Like you said, it does feel open. I just wish there was like, I don't know, one more drink counter or something that would encourage me to linger a little bit more. Again, me and my family always go in the summer. So this is my experience with it. It can just still get so hot there and crowded. And the outdoor seating area near Hall of Presidents does not offer much of a rest. I'd also just love if there was one more cultural thing here, whether it's a little like changing exhibit, a historian performer type thing, a different
The
food
changing
option.
exhibits are in the lobby of the Hall of Presidents.
Yeah, but then I don't want to have to run away then when they open the doors to the Hall of Presidents so that I don't get trapped in there.
Well, that sounds like a you problem, because you can look at exhibits
No.
in an air-conditioned space. Where
No,
are the
no,
exhibits
no.
in New
It should-
Orleans Square?
This is America. We should have our own dedicated little thing. But also, I want a historian or performer. I want music. I want another
There
food
is
option,
music.
another shop. No, I want more. I want dedicated Voices of Liberty, like something that makes it stand out that's more cultural since it isn't as attraction heavy. And okay, here's the other thing. Again, we mentioned this about New Orleans Square too. It's not really a con, it's just something to mention. Can we get all of this in Colonial Williamsburg? Probably. I've never been. I want to go bad. I'm going to go with Connor's family. But this land could so get a Halloween overlay. We have Ichabod Crane in the Disney canon. Let's use it. Let's turn this area into Sleepy Hollow around Halloween time and have more appearances by the Horsemen than just the Boo to You parade. Give me Ichabod Crane. I want to meet him. This would keep it feeling much more fresh and alive because, again, through no fault of its own, there's no room to add anything. Overlay it.
They bring the ghosts out.
I need more. It's such an obvious.
Oh,
turn
none
Liberty
of it's
Square
good
into
enough for
Sleepy
you.
Hollow. Turn Liberty Square into Sleepy Hollow at Halloween. Do it. I want to meet Ichabod Crane. I want more of the Headless Horseman.
But then
I want
how
it.
can you justify having the Liberty Tree and the Liberty Bell in Sleepy Hollow, New York?
Oh, just the same way that we justify having the Pirates of the Caribbean in New Orleans Square. We do a little time traveling. It's all right.
Jesus. Are you done?
I'm done.
All right. So let's do some overall thoughts.
Okay. So, for me, again, different because I've experienced it. New Orleans Square feels very quintessentially Walt Disney himself to me. He loved everything New Orleans, and knowing that he wanted to stay at least, and dined in this land is really special, and it feels very full of his influence even to this day. His fingerprints are all over these attractions, and it's hard to touch that. And just knowing that this was one of Walt's favorite areas to just drink a coffee and vibe is very special. And it says a lot about the quality of the atmosphere of this land, which is extremely rich. And then it's just the obvious. This land is going to become pretty unbeatable once Tiana's Bayou Adventure opens. Like literally 3 of the most major and iconic Disney attractions in one land. It's pretty wild. I also think New Orleans Square and the many odes to NOLA outside of the land, like there's a Cajun restaurant in downtown Disney in Disneyland. That's one of my favorite parts of visiting the Disneyland resort. Like Liberty Square, this land is unique to this park. So I always look forward to having a one-of-a-kind experience. And just like that love of New Orleans is so very Disneyland to me. It's very unique. But most of all for me, this is the most impressive part of New Orleans Square, is that it has evolved so beautifully over time. What started as a land that was literally more about vibes than rides, which I can always get down with, but that's just me,
but
will
whatever.
soon house 3 of the most major attractions in the park, while still maintaining an emphasis on food and shopping, while also integrating a beloved IP with the new Princess and the Frog editions. It kind of has everything, and it has continuously become what guests need it to be, while very much maintaining the authentic atmosphere that Walt was going for. It's pretty incredible that a land that opened with 0 attractions will now hold all of these things: the culture, the vibes, the food, the shopping and dining experience, and then 3 of the top rides ever. And it just didn't start that way. And they're going to loop in now, Tiana's Bayou Adventure, but there have been no expansions literally of the land. And so it's just pretty impressive of what it's been able to become over time, when it was very much, when it opened, more of like a Downtown Disney type thing where it was like, come here to eat and shop and then be on your way. And now it's going to have all of these things. I think it's quite impressive. And I will say, the note that you made about the specificity of it, I was like, what makes New Orleans Square different? And maybe a negative way. And I guess that's what it is. It's the most specific land in a, like, you know, a model of what is the Magic Kingdom Disneyland. So yeah, that's the one thing.
Edge now is kind of pretty damn specific.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, that's the one thing that has made me think, what to think about that. But they very seamlessly pulled in some IP to give it variety, and I really got to respect that. So strong showing for New Orleans Square for me.
Yeah, as someone who has neither been to New Orleans or New Orleans Square, I feel very much biased towards Liberty Square. That being said, objectively, New Orleans Square has so much going for it beyond just the immaculate theming that you're going to find anywhere in a Disney park. To have 2 soon to be 3 iconic Disney attractions is like, that's hard to beat. And then you get the specificity of a menu that gives people a taste of food that many might not ever have tasted before.
Very true.
So you've got entrees in all the restaurants then and drinks that have tons of variety. So yes, no, I totally see. It seems to tick a lot of boxes. Do I wish it had a more general name than New Orleans Square? Maybe. So that way, if they wanted to one day like welcome something else in, they could. But no, I get it. I'll just close out some thoughts on Liberty Square. So you know, for a small, relatively unupdated area of the park, Liberty Square makes quite the impression, and it packs a lasting punch.
It does.
There are so many people who gravitate towards this land,
me included,
and can't really explain why. And I think part of it is because of where it comes from. It was an original idea from Walt. He wanted it to be a part of Main Street USA, part of your first impression of Disneyland, and it never saw the light of day until it became something more than just a cul-de-sac. It became one of the lands of the Magic Kingdom. The attention to the details in this land are next level because they are just all rooted in history. I'm always finding something new when I go to Liberty Square. Do I wish we had more attractions in the area? Yeah, at least one. But part of the appeal, I think, is also its size. It's quaint while also being open. I never feel cramped, yet there are places to stumble on that you feel like you only know. The dining is pretty stellar, still with some room for improvements, mostly bringing back what used to be there and fixing the Diamond Horseshoe. It's somewhat frustrating that both table service restaurants are pushing largely the same menu. It doesn't really give you a reason to try both of them, but all in all, Liberty Square is a more active, lived-in version of the American Adventure. It's at once an exhibit and a playground, and that feels like the Disney take on history. When I think of the American Adventure, it's just kind of like a building. It doesn't feel equal to the Norway Pavilion or the Morocco Pavilion. It is just Independence Hall and then like a little concert venue. Liberty Square feels more of the Epcot Pavilion-y version of America.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's so funny. As you mentioned, like there are many people who are drawn to it, me included. I also just feel like so many people just sleep on this land and they shouldn't. I get it, like if you're there with kids, you're kind of just like bustling onto Fantasyland, but I don't know, there's just something special about it. It's just like something about the music and all of it. It's very evocative to me. Some of it is just something I can't explain. Granted, the space is very limited here, so new additions are nearly impossible, which is sad. But after the end of Great Moments in History with the Muppets, sometimes I'm like, is this land just going to perpetually stay as it is? I'll always want to eat there. I will always want to vibe with the colonial pipe music, but I always just wonder, like, what is the future of this land? There are options. I just want to take a moment and say, we just presented 3 fantastic options: National Treasure, Hamilton, and a Muppets barbecue restaurant inside the Diamond Horseshoe.
What if Nick Cage and the Muppets did Hamilton?
I would be absolutely with barbecue. Let's do it. there are some places where this land falls short in terms of reaching its full potential, but there's just something so nice about being there. Like I said, it's just a bit intangible for me, which is why I knew this was going to be difficult, because I have a way more personal connection to Liberty Square. I know it way more intimately than I know New Orleans Square. And I grew up with it. There's a warmth to it that I love.
It has the better mansion.
Those mansions are so neck and neck for me.
No, but Magic Kingdom one takes it. Let's be real.
Maybe, but then
no, it does. There is a correct answer, and I will fight everyone. I'll fight all of you.
But it's Walt's original Haunted Mansion. It's Walt's. Like,
but also if he saw the one in Magic Kingdom, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, that."
Maybe not, and the concept wouldn't exist without the New Orleans influence. The concept wouldn't even exist without the New Orleans one, because that's
you wouldn't exist without the New. Okay, fine. New Orleans Square wins, but Jesus, God.
I just want you to know, I love Liberty Square. I went into this truly not knowing.
Yeah, I don't think
what was going to happen. I don't know. I swear to you.
Liberty Square is crying over in the corner right now. I will comfort her.
Here's what it is. It's like Liberty Square, we have all of these ideas that we're like, we'll just do this and it'll be yes. And I feel like with New Orleans Square, they're doing it with Tiana. And I'm kind of like low key, kind of no notes. We need to get you there, and we'll amend the episode once you've been in both.
But now is it just gonna be Tiana Land?
No, because Pirates is there.
Well, that's the trap. That's the trap of something so specific like New Orleans, where it's like, okay, we placed one movie in New Orleans, and now like it's everything. Yeah.
But I will say the location of where Tiana's, sure, we'll have Tiana's Palace in the middle, but Tiana's Bayou Adventure is not right in the middle of the action, so I don't think it'll take over.
But we also have like I'm sure Tiana stuff is gonna show up in the like Voodoo Emporium, and then you've got.
You can't infringe on Pirates and Haunted Mansion. They're never gonna let anybody upstage.
But then you've also got Eudora's dress shop and everything like that. Like it's becoming Princess and the Frogland. Whereas
if it was two less iconic attractions, they wouldn't be able to stand up to Tiana.
Is there another word? Could they call it? Port.
I don't know. I was like the Southland.
The
Southland.
No. Portland. Or the landing.
The landing.
Come to the landing.
The landing. Would you feel better about New Orleans Landing, or we got to take New Orleans out altogether?
We got to take New Orleans out, baby, because that way, if we want to add something that feels right for it, but isn't New Orleans, how can we put it in there now? You know?
Yeah.
So, there you have it, folks. Like,
I know. You think that I don't feel the same way as you, but I really
do. Because you speak with passion, and you've been there, and I haven't. But no, as I was going through this, I'm just like, fuck. I think I
felt the same way too. We both love us some Liberty Square. I am officially fixated on the Muppets Show restaurant. Because remember we've talked about like, oh, if you could build anything, what would it be? And we were like, oh, a Muppets restaurant. Well, it's perfect. Yeah. They're going to totally fucking steal our idea too. I know it. They're totally going to build that there. And I'm going to be so pissed.
I'm keeping that in. You calling them out for stealing your idea. Okay, so New Orleans Square wins. Congratulations, New Orleans Square. This was painful. I didn't enjoy this, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you liked what you heard, please remember to hit follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast, so all of the episodes download to your device. You don't miss out on anything. And make sure that you hit 5 stars and leave a written review so that other people can find the podcast. We're seen in search results. All that good stuff. We read the things that you write. We cry over them because they mean so much to us. So give us something that we're gonna get some good tears over. So thank you.
And please follow us on social media. We are at Poor Unfortunate Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And we are at Unfortunate Pod on Twitter. So as I mentioned earlier, like Connor and I will pop on there if we're together. We'll do some Ask Me Anythings. That was such a fantastic way to get to know some of you. And you asked us such fantastic questions. So aside from any additional content that matches the episodes, you can get to know us a little bit better over there as well.
Yeah, and see our faces, because we realize like you don't see our faces.
Yes, we realized that when everybody commented, we were like, oh yeah, you don't see us.
You don't know what we look like.
So we always ask for your opinions on the episodes on social media as well. So if you disagree with us, let us know. This is going to be a contentious episode, I have a feeling. So let us know. And then please, if you want even more Poor Unfortunate podcasts in your life, join our private Facebook group, the Poor Unfortunate Fam. So we've got almost 100 folks in there who listen to the podcast, who have now gotten to know each other better. We talk about the episodes. We talk about Disney news. I just got a fantastic book recommendation from Ryan, one of our listeners, that ties into the live action Little Mermaid. There's just always some good stuff happening in there. So please join us.
Avalon and I are playing Dreamlight Valley in there, baby.
Oh my God, that's so special. Yes, that's why we made it, and it's working. So please join us. We'd love to get to know you better.
And if you're looking for some merch, go to poorunfortunatepodcast.com/shop for the Poor Unfortunate shop. We got t-shirts, hats, water bottles. It's going to start getting sunny and hot, so make sure that you are all ready to go. And then, as I always say, it does take us a little bit of money to keep the podcast up and running and coming to you. We do have a PayPal account. It is linked in our episode description and in the website links in our social media accounts. Truly, anything that you have to spare goes a long way for us. It could be a one-time donation, monthly donation. It could be $5, $10, more than that. It all just goes right back into the podcast, helping us keep it free and ad-free for the most part. So to all of our monthly donors, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Without you, we wouldn't be able to keep this going. We see you. We hear you. We feel you.
And
we
you
recognize
see us.
you. We love you. All right. Well, until next time, Beluga Savruga.